on, for example, payee and VAT, which are considered some of the easier to tax sectors because they're at source. And if you look at the KRA numbers, I think in 2024-2025, in terms of revenue performance, they collected 560 billion from payee, 327 billion from VAT, and then just 304 billion from corporate tax. So these sectors, payee, VAT, are very easy to tax. It's not even a lot of effort in terms of taxation. So we want them to also review the tax system so that you're not disproportionately burdening now the middle income and those who are salaried, because you'll find that, again, if you're reducing people's incomes, then you're very likely to push those people into poverty. Or, yes.
Just on the numbers, is it the case in this report, the findings of Oxfam, that 125 Kenyans have more wealth than 42 million Kenyans combined? Yes,
that is the current status. So they have more wealth than 42.6 million Kenyans. And there are different ways that you can calculate that, which are also available in the report that lead us to draw those conclusions.
And often in these debates of inequality and the gap between the rich and the rest, this is not necessarily a unique case in Kenya, isn't it? The global inequality rate has been widely increasing as well.
Yes, so even in terms of inequality, you can look at it between countries and also within countries. So this report was looking within the Kenyan context, but we do appreciate and acknowledge that there's also inequality between countries. And you can look at that if it's the developed and underdeveloped countries, the issue of climate inequality, where African countries are the ones who face worsening climate impacts that we did not contribute to the climate crisis. And then now you find the developed countries, again, are the ones who contributed it, and they have the resources to adapt, to mitigate, to recover from climate impacts, which we do not have as African countries. So there are those global disparities.
Beverly, as we know, Kenya has a two-system of governance. With the 2010 constitution, the devolved system of governance was presented as a silver bullet to address some of the challenges with inequality and poverty. Looking at these numbers, will it be a harsh judgment to say devolution has not necessarily addressed the question of inequality?
That's a tough question. I don't want to give a yes and no answer. I do want to say there have been improvements in some of the regions because of devolution. Some of the ASAL, some of the marginalized counties, because of devolution, I think now have better access to infrastructure that they previously did not have. And also devolution came with the promise of bringing services closer to the people, which I believe it has succeeded on that front. We do also need to consider some of the structural issues affecting devolution that have prevented it from fully reaching its potential as was envisioned under the Constitution. The delayed disbursements, reduced, the capitation issues, some of the challenges with own source revenue that counties have. They're also not maximizing in terms of the own source revenue potential. And then devolved corruption is another issue because there's even the little resources, I think you should be able to use them in a more productive manner. And I think those challenges have also been reported in different Auditor General reports that they do for each of the counties.
I have a quote here from the Executive Director of Oxfam Kenya, Mwongera Mutiga. He says, and I quote, inequality is not a natural condition. It is deliberate outcome of unjust policies and political inaction. For far too long, the gap between the rich and the poor has been allowed to grow unchecked, while millions struggle just to survive. This injustice is no longer tolerable. It is time for bold, decisive action. So we are not poor by default.
Yes.
We are poor because of policies.
Yes. So it's basically a policy and a political choice. That we are in this situation that we are in. And that means then there is an opportunity for the government to address this. They need to take very serious action in terms of coming up with targets to address this issue of growing economic inequality in the country. Also by addressing the root causes of this. And like we keep saying, it's not a natural disaster, it's by design. So what can we do tangibly about issues such as, for example, corruption, which we know are seriously affecting the country? Recently, I saw just a few days ago, the Institute of Social Accountability report that Kenya is losing approximately 3 billion a day to corruption. Corruption in various forms could be conflict of interest, could be the tender opportunities, the contracts, but certain individuals are benefiting from doing business with government. This is not, for example, wealth that you have created. So again, addressing some of those structural issues that we know are being man-made, yeah? They're man-made decisions, man-made choices that are leading us to this situation.
Some have faulted the capitalistic nature of Kenya's market and suggested that why not try our neighbors' format of communism and wealth redistribution